I can't remember when the United States first became involved in the war in Vietnam, but I do remember the day Walter Cronkite, the most trusted man in America, got up from his anchor desk to show Americans how to find Vietnam on a world map. When Cronkite stood up, I thought, this is serious stuff. The war dragged on for almost 20 years, but it was in the mid to late 60s and early 70s that it escalated into a bloodbath. And while American soldiers were fighting and dying in a tiny country we couldn't even find on a map, some American citizens were fighting in the streets of the U.S. to end that war. It brought about the most divisive time in our country since the war between the states. And as a result, the soldiers that returned from Vietnam got no welcome home parades. In fact, they got no welcome home at all. We had not yet as a nation learned to separate the soldier from the war. And our returning veterans were banished to hide their medals and memories and pretend the whole thing never even happened. Well, it took decades for our nation to finally say thank you with the construction of the Vietnam Wall. But here in Texas, that wasn't quite enough. A dedicated group has just finished our state's own expression of gratitude. Bleachers are going up, the chairs are set out, and the Texas Capitol Vietnam Veterans Monument is about to be unveiled. And so, after almost 39 years since the fall of Saigon and the end of the Vietnam War, Texas is finally ready to honor her fallen heroes. That will happen in just a few minutes when this blue tarp is removed from the monument here on the Capitol grounds and the ceremony gets underway. You're invited to take a front row seat for this historic event. I'm Bob Phillips. This is a special edition of Texas Country Reporter.
The Korean monument is right over there. I was just walking back to the Capitol, going to a meeting or something. So I just walked over to it and thought, we ought to have one.
From the offices down in the depths of the basement to the very top of its granite dome, lobbyist Robert Floyd knows the Texas State Capitol like the back of his hand. He has walked past our state's monuments to World War II, Korea, and other veterans for years, until one day he realized he and his fellow Vietnam War veterans deserved equal recognition.
Representative Smith.
Hello,
good to see you, sir.
Robert, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of bravery and courage that I don't think ever really got recognized. And hopefully this monument will lead to that.
Robert's journey to establish the monument has lasted more than a decade, but he's been far from alone. Today, we will introduce you to just some of the people who have shared this dream along the way, and we'll be there with them when it is finally unveiled.
Hang on, Sergio. Let me see. I want to see how that head looks up there.
It's now 2013. Dedication is just over a year away, and the committee's vision is literally in the hands of artist Duke Sundt.
I've researched this for, literally hundreds and hundreds of hours before I even started.
While they've been raising funds and securing permits, he has spent 5 years distilling the Vietnam War experience into a group of clay figures.
Well, we've got 5 figures, Bob. We've got an Asian American, Anglo-American, a black Navy corpsman. My radio operator is a Native American. I've also got a Hispanic Scout sniper.
Each has his own heritage, specialty, and authentic equipment, in the hopes that every veteran will see some of himself on that sculpture.
What they wanted was a monument, not a memorial, because a monument is for those that are still living as well.
We just wanted a monument to say, this is ours. This is for us. This is for the Vietnam veteran.
Hundreds of decisions remain before Duke can turn the design over to the foundry. Everything from what to stick in a helmet band to the number of slits in an M16 rifle must be committed in clay. It has to be real, because real lives were lost, and real people today deserve this honor. Once cast in bronze, every minute detail will combine into a permanent snapshot of those who fought.
I hope it'll make people realize that what people have sacrificed for this country.
I think when we all stand there, and we've had a great committee that has worked on this, we're going to say, we did it. And this is for you. This is for all the veterans. And I think that's going to be one hell of a feeling.
I lost some friends over there. I lost 3 really good friends in Vietnam. My job is to remember them as a veteran. You know, one of the things that people fear is that they'll die and nobody cares. And I care.
When the state of Texas dedicates its Vietnam Veterans Monument, every single seat will be taken. But veterans Don Dorsey and James Hart won't be focused on the crowd that's in attendance. They'll be thinking about 3,417 empty chairs that will never be filled.
James and I are making dog tags for every Texan killed in Vietnam.
There was one that really struck me, and it was early on when I started doing it. It was a young soldier that was killed Christmas Day, and all I could think about was what his family was going to think. And that one really struck me really hard. To imagine that their Christmas will probably never be the same after that. It's just to have that day and the death of their son, it was really hard for me.
Letter by letter by letter, James and Don have stamped out a replica dog tag for each Texan who did not come home from the Vietnam War. Machines just like the one here in James's kitchen identified every soldier who went over there. Now, some 40 years later, this outdated method has brought these men even closer to their brothers in arms.
There are electric machines that you can make this thing, knock it out in no time, but this is personal. I'm touching every one of these guys, and they're touching me.
It was really very personal. It's not just a piece of metal anymore. You're actually reading the name. You're reading about where he grew up or where he came from. And that, to me, changes everything.
Here's Jerry Blackburn from Bonham, Texas. Ted Bishop, Lufkin, Texas. You don't even know these guys.
They're my brothers. I know that. That's all I need to know.
The hero tags, as they've been appropriately named, will be entombed inside the base of the Capitol Monument. These soldiers will forever have a home as part of Texas' tribute to their service. But as Don and James worked on the project, they felt a growing sense of inadequacy. Even a proper burial and a state ceremony fell short of honoring the ultimate sacrifice. And so they set out to make a second set of tags.
We wanted to show with this exhibit that we still respect the casualties, that they haven't been forgotten.
This time, Don and James put the tags on display for all to see in the Vietnam Heroes exhibit.
It's been traveling around the state. It's been to the major cities and primarily the cities and areas where there's been a lot of casualties. These guys died 40, 45 years ago. And they came home at a time when nobody cared. It's kind of nice to bring it back and say, hey, we do care.
If you try to undertake something like this, you can't walk away undetached. It becomes a part of you. It really does. I bet Don sees dog tags in his sleep.
A curtain of dog tags hangs down, dancing and shimmering to draw your eye. You are supposed to touch them just like their makers did. You're supposed to read them and think about the lives these men once led. You're supposed to meet more than 3,000 heroes, just like Don Dorsey and James Hart did when they honored them.
What's important to me is the fact that we said goodbye to them, the final goodbye, to actually hope that they heard it and know that we meant it. You know, that's the important thing to me.
They witnessed gruesome injuries, endured brutal heat and rain, and marched through miles of booby-trapped jungle. But only one thing was guaranteed to stop an American soldier in Vietnam: round eyes.
The Vietnamese, too, are equally surprised at seeing round eyes. We get more second glances, whoop whistles, and oohs and ahs than Raquel Welch does in the States. Isn't that something?
Joyce Denke saved that letter and a whole trunk full of keepsakes from her time in Vietnam. Even though she couldn't fight, Joyce and hundreds of other women spent a year of their lives in the war with the Red Cross. These young women, clad in powder blue skirts, were the donut dollies.
We were there, naive as we could be, but very adventurous and dedicated. We wanted to bring a touch of home to those GIs. We wanted to smile, smile, smile. We had to smile all the time. And, you know, and it was just to get their minds off of that war.
The dollies put on shows, played games, and joked around with the men in the middle of a war zone. Any one of them could have been killed. But on this dangerous adventure, Joyce rarely thought about that. Like the guys she was cheering up, she had a job to do. Her thoughts were focused on the task at hand and the reason she went over there in the first place.
And some of us wanted adventure, some of us just wanted to do something for the troops. I had lost a fiance in Vietnam in 1967 when I was 19 years old. 7 weeks after he was in Vietnam, he was killed on his first mission with a long-range reconnaissance patrol. But I wanted to make a difference in those GIs' lives. I wanted to thank them for Dave's service. I wanted to do something to say thank you, Dave, for your service, and thank you, for all of you.
The Donut Dolly's presence gave comfort and resolve to our soldiers, and their service, too, will be reflected on a panel of the Texas Capitol Vietnam Veterans Monument. After 40 years, it's the highest honor Joyce Denke could have ever received.
I have learned also that they put a little bit of a picture of us over on one little segment of it. Wow, what recognition that is. And I had somebody tell me this morning, you know what? I think of you as a veteran.
That's got to be special.
Because I'm not.
Betcha. Hope it's a good day for you. I bet. Thank you. Thank y'all for being here. We appreciate it very much. It's going to be a beautiful day. It is a big day with a lot of wonderful people and looks like sunshine and all of the things that we could be blessed with for this event. It's a long time in coming.
Left, right. It is finally time. Decades ago, Robert Floyd would have never believed that today could be real.
Reset!
Thousands of people have crammed onto the lawn of the Texas state capitol for one reason: to clap and cheer and revere Vietnam veterans.
I tell you what, exciting, isn't it? And look at the people, look at the crowd, the enthusiasm, the appreciation. Couldn't get any better.
It's time to be recognized for the service that we did to our country.
For nearly 40 years, an entire generation of Texans has waited for this exact moment. The Lone Star State is about to reveal her greatest gift to them. It's a tribute, an apology, and a chance to tell them all what they should have heard long ago.
Welcome home!
Five bronze figures, gleaming in the Texas sun, stare out across the crowd of people below. Every detail matches a memory someone shares. Every inch of its surface begs to be explored. Those war experiences, once hidden away in shame and controversy, now stand proud in the light of day.
It was just a great feeling to know that people can now kind of reach out and touch it. We hope it will be healing. We hope that it will honor and remember. It's wonderful. We did it.
Now the unwavering soldiers of this monument will forever guard the honor of our Vietnam veterans. They have taken over that sacred mission from Robert, Don, and the rest of the committee. And our former warriors, the young kids who were torn between opposing forces, well, they can finally heal.
I feel like I'm whole again. I'm not want to be recognized as a hero. I just want to be recognized as a soldier that left and went to fight for his country. That's all I wanted. And now I think we've reached that point.